Good morning, good morning, good morning. I was busily sharing our live stream on my Facebook page. So I want to welcome everybody who's joining us on YouTube and Zoom. I want to welcome everybody joining us here in the room. We're going to get started right away with our first two community songs. Our musician this morning is our board president, Marilyn Gale. Here we go.
Good morning. Take a look at the person next to you. Say God loves you and I love you too. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me.
Good morning again. So my name is Reverend Rafe Ellis, and I am honored and privileged to be the senior minister here at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. And again, I want to welcome everyone here in the room. I want to welcome everybody out beyond the walls on YouTube, Zoom, and Facebook. Welcome. And so we may have folks joining us for the first time, and so I want to share with you who we are as a community and remind us of who we are as a community. We are a radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, supportive community that celebrates the diversity of creation. We strive to live authentic spiritual lives through a practical application of the teachings of science of mind. We engage in sacred practices that uplift our spirit, deepen our awareness, and ignite our soul's self-expression. We demonstrate active compassion to ourselves, each other, and the world. We experience meaningful contribution through giving generously of our time, talents, and treasures, and we intentionally, on purpose, shamelessly, unapologetically promote our community and these teachings. And so one of the ways that you can participate in that right now is if you have a cell phone handy or you happen to be in the online audience, you can share this live stream feed on your social media platform. You can also email the link to our YouTube Sierra Spiritual channel with folks later and make this available to many, many people. So one of the things that we do every Sunday morning to demonstrate, to walk our talk, is our inclusion candle lighting ritual. And we light these candles to celebrate the unity of all peoples, all faiths, all beings, all life. We light the first candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples. We light the second candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the third candle for Taoism, honoring the path of ultimate reality, the natural way. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the middle way and path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the teachings of Jesus as the path of love, forgiveness, and healing by the presence within. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought teachings, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles of love and law. We light the 10th candle for absolute inclusivity, affirming that all are welcome and celebrated here. And we light this final candle, honoring the infinity of oneness as all creation, seen and unseen. Thank you, Deborah. Who knew lighting candles would be a tag team sport? And so we're going to jump right back in with song for our next community song. I invite you to lift your voice and join in. Here we go.
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. divine master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it's in giving that we receive, and it's in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it's in dying that we are born to eternal life.
My mask was attacking my microphone. So this is our time of announcements. And so first I want to bring your attention to the fact that we are open, that we are here. There's a slide coming up there there we go. And so we are following the county guidelines and asking people to wear a mask, whether you've been vaccinated 100 times or no times. Because what we know now, as science has evolved, as being vaccinated offers us some prophylactic response if we do encounter the virus. It certainly does not prevent us from getting it, nor does it prevent us from being asymptomatic carriers of it, gifting it to other members of our community. And so there are some things that we need not share. And so that is one of them. So we do ask that if you come in person that you be willing to wear a mask. We do have some on the front table as you come in if you don't have one with you. And so we invite you to do that. Now, we are also continuing our bead system so that you don't have to have the same conversation over and over and over. If you want people to still stay 6 feet away and not touch you, and just conversation only from that distance, you can don a red strand of beads. If you're figuring it out moment to moment, which I don't know, I live there frequently depending on where I am and who I'm interacting with, which is quite normal. So let's just make that normal, okay, can we? You wear a yellow one, and that just simply signifies check in with me before you reach out to touch me or get closer. If you're good with people being closer than 6 feet apart, if you're good with people shaking your hand or hugging you, you wear a green one. If you want to create space on either side of you here in the room, you're welcome to pick up the seat placards when you come through the door, put one on either side of you that says, please do not sit here. And that way you are empowered to create your own sense of safety and well-being, because we just think that's your right to do. So, all right. The next announcement is our Actualizing Wholeness discussion group. And we meet once a month on the first Tuesday of every month from 4:30 to 6 Pacific time on Zoom. The information is right there on your screen. If you are here in the room and notice we have no projection system this morning, it's because we need to have a celebration of life for our for our projector that decided to pass away during the service last Sunday. We all got to witness its exit. So that is available in the newsletter, and I believe it's on our calendar. If it's not, we'll make sure it gets there so you can access that. Our next meeting is coming up on October 5th. We invite you to join us. And I think that is all for our announcements. And so this is our time of inward shift. And our practitioner this morning, Deborah Ellis, is going to come lead us in a brief message about our community value inclusion. And she will lead us into a time of meditation, and then she will bring us out of that with our opening affirmative prayer and leading us in our affirmation.
Good morning, beloveds. So it is my joy this morning to share about inclusion. And I'll start with just speaking about this past week and the opportunities to practice inclusion in consciousness. I had several moments in time where I had fallen out of the understanding of inclusion, and I was practicing separation and becoming worried, concerned, and not remembering. And so what I like to say about my spiritual journey is that it is about forgetting and remembering. And the quicker I can remember and shift my consciousness, the more comfortable life becomes. And so this poem that I'm going to read to you is just a really brief poem that reminds me of an aspect of inclusion that I get to remember. So it's a poem by Edwin Markham, a 20th century American poet. They drew a circle that shut me out. Heretic, rebel, and a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle and took them in. Blessed be. allowing your next breath to be a little bit deeper than the one before. One presence, one power, one ultimate, all-knowing, forever-giving source. It is perfect joy, perfect peace, perfect love. It is the allness of life, exquisite, magnificent. It is this very breath that connects all of life, all that is seen and all that is unseen. It is forever flowing and giving of itself in glorious ways. It is the heartbeat of life. It is my heartbeat. It is beating my heart and dreaming my dreams. And so it's from this place of knowing what is happening here right now and beyond, that I speak a word of blessing for this time together in spiritual community. Claiming and affirming that there is a choice to remember the truth, the spiritual truth of what is flowing, what is happening. Back of all of life, it is that place that I remember. Speaking a word of blessing for this time in a deeper way, knowing that all of the love that is present here is enough love to heal the world, to heal all of the unfolding that is happening. And so it is that I trust and accept that this unfolding is on purpose and in divine right flow. So grateful this morning to know this truth and to remember right here in this moment, to be in sacred service right here, right now, and to give thanks for all of life. So I anchor this now, this knowing, this truth, in deep and abiding love. And I release it into that alchemy of love and law that makes it so. Makes it so, releasing the words now, knowing that it is complete and it is done. And I say, and so it is. Good morning, beautiful people right here in the room. Wonderful to see you. Welcome, welcome. And my name is Deborah Ellis, and I am a licensed practitioner in service to this center, and grateful to be so. So I'm going to read our affirmation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read it through once, and then we can read it together. The power of consciousness rises in me, and I am free. Here we go. The power of consciousness rises in me, and I am free. Blessed be.
Loving up the whole human race. Our world, it's a beautiful I'm telling you, give up the act. Be who you really are. Life is a movie. You are the star. Take on a role that you appreciate. Step into your life. Don't leave it up to fate. And the world goes round and round. Somehow we all stick to the ground. I say let's all roll up our sleeves. It makes no difference what you or I believe. This is the age of transformation. I'm expressing my dedication, bringing harmony into the space, loving up the whole human race. All the world, it's a beautiful place. You know, I believe that it Fundamentally, we are united. Existentially, I am inspired. You are important to me.
Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Do you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
I didn't expect that to make me emotional. I love you. I don't care who knows. Let's take a breath together. I love you too, Tita Nelly. That is like the sound that reverberates throughout the universe now, that gives us all pause as a human being coughing. Isn't it interesting how things change? I know for a fact we're just fine with that cough. So this month, we're looking at reaching higher. In week 1, we explored understanding ourselves and where we fit into this, and exploring the idea that we can actually gain some wisdom through our experiences and build something new upon that. Week 2, we looked at transcend, embody, and embrace. And that's that practice where we really start taking ownership, where we climb over all the obstacles to get to a higher view, and we just wrap it all inside as our own. Last week we explored, okay, that's great, now what do we do when the road gets rocky? And we looked at how we can navigate all of those barriers and not run away. You know, do we react or do we respond? To remind ourselves that no matter what the circumstances are, we're always at choice. Always. Some of us really like choice when we like the options, and when we don't like the options, suddenly we have no choice. Stop lying. We still have a choice. And then we looked at this truth that everything is God and God is everything, and can we find that? Will we find that? And so this morning, we're wrapping everything up with, and still I rise. So I explore who I am. I explore who you are. I explore, this process of embracing and navigating the hard times. We don't deny that we live on planet Earth. We just decide to rise no matter what. And so there's 2 elements of this. We can rise in the physical realm, and we can rise in the realm of consciousness. And I invite you to consider that, in the physical realm, we have things like careers and relationships and buying houses, and real, authentic physical tragedy happens. I would be remiss if I ignored the most recent activity of human tragedy right here in our own community. A couple nights ago, an individual who just literally momentarily lost all sense of who they were, decided to jump off the Sacramento overpass bridge. Now, fortunately, they survived the fall, and their road is very rocky right now. They have a tremendous amount of obstacles that they will be walking through, perhaps for the rest of their life. And what has struck me the most, I have to tread very carefully here to maintain ministerial confidentiality, so I'm pausing to pick my words. The mother of this teenager, I am witnessing her embrace every messy moment of this process, to be blissfully authentic, and to do so from a spiritual place that she naturally lives. Wow. Wow. It's a remarkable thing to bear witness to and be privileged to be a part of. So when we're talking about rising in consciousness, we really have a couple of options here. We're going to use consciousness because that's what we are. Let's get really clear. There is no off switch to consciousness. Okay? We're using it because that's what we are. It's a matter of, are we going to use it from a place of awareness, a place of intention, or are we going to use it from a place of victimhood and advocating our responsibility? So first we need to understand, what is it? And so let's take a minute just to be reminded of what absolute consciousness is. It is the one thing. Call it the quantum field. Call it absolute consciousness. Call it ultimate reality. It is this unformed substance. I like, many of us use the image of the Jell-O mold. Okay? Consciousness is the Jell-O. Okay? It is the liquid Jell-O. It is the powdered Jell-O and the water that forms the liquid Jell-O. It is the very essence. And then thought or belief plus feeling creates the mold. There is no waiting period, and this is where many of us get surprised. The moment we create that mental mold, Ernest Holmes called it a mental equivalent, the moment we create that mental mold, consciousness pours the Jell-O in it. And it's instant. It doesn't always show up as instant in this physical realm, but it has already happened. We created this idea of time and space in the human realm so that we could function in form. So the amount of time that it takes to show up is the activity of this thing we call law, the natural unfolding. The gravity is a natural law. It exists, right? Doesn't matter whether we want it to exist or not, it exists. Okay. Natural law of creation exists. And so our teaching symbol, for those of you here in the room, that top part of the teaching symbol is the Jell-O. That middle section is that thought, is the mental mold, and that bottom part is the form that shows up. That thing that looks like a V, it's actually not a V. Ernest Holmes created that symbol quite by accident. He was teaching a class, and as I understand how it rolled out, he said, okay, imagine this is all of creation. And this is the mental part. This is the thought part. And this is the activity of law. And this is the result of form. And then he took his pen and he said, the action of creation. So that V is an action, right? That the thought goes through law, comes out in form, and then we recognize form. It's what Troward called secondary causation. The minute we recognize that form, we have thoughts about that form. So now where are we? We're right back at the top. And we're having a thought about the form, which the activity of law is now responding to, creating more form. That's the good news and the bad news. Because here's the thing. What we focus on, we make more of. And so if we dislike the form that we created, and we focus on the form we dislike, guess what's happening? We're creating a loop that just keeps it present. Right? This idea that spirit is a vending machine, let's just dispel that right now. Most of my talk today comes from chapter 16 in The Science of Mind, A Philosophy of Faith, A Way of Life. The first part of that is titled, Not Something for Nothing. Ernest Holmes is very clear when he brings forward this teaching that, and I'm just going to read exactly his words. Lessons on prosperity and mental control of conditions are sometimes dangerous because of the misunderstanding of this subject. Science of Mind is not a get-rich-quick scheme, neither does it promise something for nothing. It does, however, promise the one who will, listen closely, comply with its teachings, that they shall be able to bring greater possibilities and happier conditions into their experience. We have to work within what creation is. Creation won't create against itself. That doesn't mean humans can't behave like jerks. Okay, so let's get that really clear. What is manifesting is what we believe. You cannot believe one thing and manifest a separate thing. He goes on to the end of that couple of paragraphs. No person can demonstrate peace and cling to unhappiness. You can't claim peace and act like a jerk. One of those is not true. They can demonstrate resignation and call it peace, but it won't be peace. No person can jump into the water and remain dry. Let's hear that again. Nobody can jump in the water and remain dry. So we can't have a thought that is in opposition to what, we can't create a demonstration that is in opposition to what we believe. Won't happen. Won't happen. And this is in all caps in the book. No person whose entire time is spent in the contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from such limitation. I cannot sit around and look at my checkbook and look at my balance and look at, oh dear God, how am I going to do this and how am I going to pay this? Man, the world really sucks today. And have a better life. It doesn't work that way. What I get is more of those insufficient numbers in my bank account to look at because that's what I'm focused on. What I get are more situations to prove to me that the world, in fact, sucks. Because that's what I've declared. So that's all I'm going to experience. It doesn't mean the world is busy being horrible. It just means that's the experience of it that I'm creating. Will we rise to a different consciousness? Am I willing to let go of my limitations? Oh my God. Listen to your own internal dialogue sometimes. Our biggest arguments tend to be for our limitations. I have a right to feel this way. Well, yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I say it frequently. Come, try it out. If it doesn't work, I will gladly refund your misery. You can have it back anytime you want. Anytime we choose, it's ours. Because that's what creation does. Oh, you want misery? Here you go. Have some misery. It doesn't second guess us. It just gives us what we say we want. Want is a slippery little word, isn't it? I don't want to be miserable. Really? What are you doing to be happy? If all of your time and energy is spent in misery while you're screaming you don't want to be miserable, I would suggest that maybe perhaps on some plane you might be lying to yourself. Maybe. Just consider it. So how do we get out of this? We start where we are. We have to stop lying about where we are. We have to get all the guilt, shame, and blame. Got to go. You know, I really appreciate what Deborah shared this morning that, I was busy practicing exclusion. I was busy not being inclusive. Right? Our teaching tells us that we turn away from condition. That kind of requires me to know where it is and what it is that I'm doing in order to turn away from it. Right? The barriers, I can't cross a barrier if I don't know it's there. It's that story of our distortions. Let me share this with you. This is a cute little story about how we distort things that are right in front of us. There's this neighborhood of monkeys playing in the trees, and nightfall comes, and one of them looks down and says, "Wow, the moon is in the well. Come here." And he calls all of his friends over, and he's like, "Look, the moon fell in the well. We got to get it out." And so monkeys being monkeys, they like devise a plan. One's going to hold on to the top, and they're going to link tails and work their way all the way down with a bucket to scoop the moon out of the well and put it back where it belongs. And as they're doing that, the last one is right there, and he scoops it up, and he's looking in his bucket, and he's like, "I've got it." And right then the top monkey lets go. And everybody falls down. The bucket goes flying, and they're all in the bottom of the well looking up going, "We did it! The moon is back in the sky." And then one of them looks at each other, it looks at the rest of them and goes, "Now how do we get out of this well?" Right? We can fool ourselves, and then we find ourselves stuck at the bottom of the well, thinking we've changed something that was never a problem to start with. Okay? So how do we get out of the well? First, we have to remember. We have to remember what's actually operating here, and we rise to that new level of consciousness. We can't operate in the material realm to change our consciousness. When our consciousness changes, the material realm changes. And too many of us try to do that backwards. Okay? The most powerful words I think I have ever read in this Science of Mind book, that are some of the most uncomfortable words I've ever read also. To desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that we never knew the truth. When things get hard, when disaster strikes, to abandon what we know in consciousness and invest ourselves in the awfulness of the form is to prove that we never knew what consciousness was to start with. Because when we truly know what's going on, we can look, Ernest Holmes also says in a different place in the book, to look a fact in the face and call it a lie. It's a fact that we are in a pandemic. That's a fact. But it's not the truth of consciousness. It is the truth. It is a fact in the physical realm. The truth of consciousness is that everything is whole, perfect, and complete. And so all of the nastiness that we're writing about this thing, now we're invested. We're trying to change the material in order to lift our consciousness. It doesn't work that way. We have to rise. How do we rise? Go deeper. This human experience is nothing but paradox. Okay? And so our brain tells us to rise, and consciousness says, yes, go deeper. Right? Go deeper. And so we go deeper into faith. If you remember, for those of you that are Bible-based, the Bible says faith is the substance of things not seen but hoped for. The substance. What is consciousness? It is the jello. It is the substance. What is faith? It is not faith in God, because that puts God out here. It is the faith of God. It is understanding that you are made of consciousness. That there is nothing for you to look for and everything for you to access. You are it in form. This idea that I'm waiting on God, when I was early in recovery, my sponsor, bless her heart, I was like, I'm waiting on God. She's like, you get a job yet? Nope, waiting on God. Did you pay your rent yet? Nope, waiting on God. Finally, she looked at me and she said, you know, next time you're hungry, lock yourself in a closet and see how long it takes God to shove a hot dog through the keyhole. Who are we waiting on? We're not waiting on God. We're waiting on someone else to be responsible for our physical being. That is not in alignment with consciousness. Consciousness understands its power. You know, we look to this man that we read about called Jesus. He never said, when God moves, get up and walk. He said, get up and walk. And people did, as the stories go. Rise up from the dead and go about your business. How did that happen? Jesus didn't do it. Jesus didn't access something outside of himself. He aligned the consciousness in him with the consciousness in the other person and enacted it. He had an idea. He spoke it into law, and it manifested. Just like when you say, I don't have time, suddenly your schedule gets busier. You notice that? Because you just said, I don't have time, so you manifested not having time. That's how this thing works. And so we have to remember who we are and have the faith in it. Faith is the substance. It is the consciousness. I think it was Michael Beckwith who said, when we do see what we don't see, we will see what we can't see. I'll say that again, D. D just looked like a puppy back there. Whoop. When we do see what we don't see, we will see what we can't see. When we see in consciousness, when we have the mental equivalent for what isn't in form, it will come into form. That's how it works. And that's the only way it works. Now, I was in a class, and somebody pointed out this beautiful, beautiful piece. Because what stops us is we don't want to change. We want everything around us to change. I'm not sure I want to change. So can you work that out? Remember, there's one consciousness. We are it. And so the activity of law is moving consciousness into form. That is you. Our part is to be ready and willing to be guided into truth and liberty. If in the making of a demonstration it becomes necessary to change our mode of living, then the law will point the way and we will follow. Our correct choice will be part of the working of the law. All doubt and fear must go, and in their place must come faith and confidence, and we shall be led by the Spirit into all good. We cannot dig our heels in and change anything, because what we're actually doing when we dig our heels in, what's operating in the creative process, what is your belief? That I'm going to stay right here. So all of the activity of law does everything to make you stay right there. And so if staying right there eliminates the demonstration that you want, nothing changes. I'm going to wrap up with this quote from Ernest Holmes, because it's really easy when we are when we are struggling, it's really easy to forget. Ernest Holmes said this: "We are not going through a harder time today, a longer or darker night than has ever been experienced before. It only seems darker when we forget who we are." Let's take this into prayer. And so as I breathe, I recognize it is the breath of the one, the infinite, the ever-present substance of life breathing me. That it is consciousness itself breathing me. That there is no other substance, no other source, no other being. And so I know that I must be that in form. I know that I must be a divine idea, a desire in its own heart to know itself, to experience itself as this thing I call my life. And what is true of me is true of all life. One substance, manifest diversely in the form of multiplicity. Every form fully infused with all that creation is. And so I know, and I speak my word, which is the word of the infinite, speaking in, through, and as me. I claim and affirm that the very perfection of consciousness itself is making itself known in the mind and the heart of every expression of it. That the perfect breath of life is breathing every perfect lung. That this thing we call the universe, this thing we call planet Earth, is clean air moving in and out, feeding the flora, the fauna, feeding every expression of life. That climate change must change to be in alignment with spiritual principle. It must reflect itself as we align our belief, as we look to the healing, as we look to the light. We are informed of the solutions that already exist. That inclusion already is. Because in one, there can be no place of exclusion. And so I speak my word, claiming and affirming that all of the barriers, all of the opinions, all of the lies that we anchor into to separate are transformed by the renewing of our mind. And there is a recognition, there is a celebration, there is a dance of holy wow as we live these principles, as we live the inclusion of every diverse expression of divinity. I speak my word, claiming and affirming that all needs are met because that which created every form already has provided for the need. And so we rise into a higher consciousness that demonstrates an awareness through the activity of law, through those divine nudges that say, go here, be this, do that. And we simply say yes, letting go of any anchor in this human realm, letting go of any guilt, shame, and blame, letting go of any shoulds or ought tos. We simply allow that divine impress of consciousness itself, desiring to express itself, and we say yes. 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 I rise. I rise. I rise. And so it is. So this is our time of conscious giving. And before we read our intentional giving affirmation, I want to invite those folks that are joining us online that as we are enjoying the offering song, that you go to our website, www.sierracenter.org, and click on that donate button. Freely we have given to you, and we invite you to freely give to us to support this thing called ministry. All right. So those of you in the room have it on your paper there. Let's say our giving affirmation together. I give this gift with love and joy from a consciousness of abundance. Divine love blesses and prospers all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.
Money is coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. I can just feel it, and I believe it's coming to me now. And I'm not worried about how. Money is coming to me. Universe is working for me. I can just feel it, and I believe it's working for me now. And I'm not worried about how. Money is coming to me. More than enough to live, more than enough to give, more than enough to share. Feels like it's already here. More than enough to shop, more than enough to drop, more than enough to save, with plenty left over to give away. Money is coming to me. I can just feel it, and I believe it's coming to me now. And I'm not worried about how. Money is coming to me. Come on, come on, come on. Money is coming to me.
So we're going to bless this gift of the divine called money. And so it is with deep gratitude that I recognize that this is the energy, the substance of the divine, the substance of consciousness made manifest in that jello mold of money that we give through Sierra Center to support this ministry and good work in the world. And so it is. Thank you. So a couple of gratitudes, just a few. Thank you, Marilyn Gale, for our music this morning. Thank you. Thank you, Diana Carolyn, for coming in to do PowerPoint and instead getting a primer on how to do live stream. Thank you. Thank you, Judy Silberman, for being our greeter, our paper hander-outer, our usher, our what else can I do, open-hearted, service-minded. Thank you. And thank you to our beloved Juanita, the wizard behind the curtain. Thank you so much. Thank you, Deborah, for being our practitioner this morning and for blessing my life every single day with the gift of you. You think it was our anniversary or something, but it's not. I don't know what's going on. I think I just fell in love all over again. I know, right? For those of you online, the in the room was, oh, shucks. All right. So I invite you in the room, wherever you are, unless you're driving. Do not try this if you're driving. Let's stand up and do our benediction, because I don't think standing up while you're driving would be a good idea. Something wonderful is happening as me right now. It is this thing called consciousness. It is this thing called creation. It is this thing called rising higher. I know it. I feel it. I sense it. Say it like you mean it. Because I am it. And so it is. Sing us out, Marilyn.